for the messy desk. I really didn't have anywhere else to film this. Now, I have taken a number of personality tests over the years, the Myers-Briggses, political compasses, all those sorts of things. But this one here, which is called the WID Core Potency Profile, I can honestly say this one is hands down the best personality test I have ever done, and I feel like it 100% describes me, explains me, whatever. Now this one is like really expensive. We did this through work, so I had to cover up some, like my work ID and work email and stuff, which is why the paper looks a little bit weird. But I think this is like $500 regularly, so I did not pay for it. But the WID stands for why I do what I do, and it's sort of like your motivating factors in life. So let's dip into it and talk about it. So this is basically saying there are 3 centers of intelligence. Okay, I focused a little bit, hopefully it looks a little bit better. It's saying that you have the gut intelligence, heart intelligence, and head intelligence. Now it is saying that, all of us obviously have all of these different intelligences. But for some people, one is more dominant than the other. And then there's different sort of archetypes within that dominant type. So, let's turn the page again. My dominant center of intelligence is the gut center. Again, that was my work ID at the top, so I had to cut that off. Your dominant center of intelligence is the gut center. Your dominant center influences you to view the world in a particular way. And so far I haven't really had to describe anything on the left-hand side, but this is basically saying, like, learning how to balance the different types of intelligences, that all those things to sort of become a more well-rounded person, that sort of thing. But I mainly, in this video, want to just talk about part 1, which is analyzing myself. There is a second pamphlet as well, but that one's more like personal development stuff. This one is just the explanation. I think this one's more interesting. Okay, so it says your view of the world. Because your dominant center of intelligence is the gut, you are particularly attuned to seeing unfairness in the world and wanting to create justice in the world. And to me, that is absolutely spot on. I always like the thing that is most quickly to anger me or upset me is seeing injustices. And obviously, yes, big major injustices are one thing that is obviously going to upset me. But even smaller injustices one of the main ones on a day-to-day basis, because obviously the big injustices, that's not something you're confronted with every day. Hopefully not, especially, at least not in your personal life. But the small injustices that really upset me are when people take advantage of politeness or social norms in order to put themselves ahead. Especially, most relevant in my day-to-day life is like traffic violations, things like that. Because so much of society is unwritten, unspoken rules. It's not laws that govern our day-to-day conduct. It's social and cultural norms, and a lot of that is learned and implemented socially between individuals. And you see, especially nowadays, I feel like a breaking down of that cohesion in the social fabric. Like one I saw the other day was, I was in a traffic jam on the way home from work, and somebody went into the bus lane to go all the way to the front, and then jump in front when the light turned green. Just things like that, technically, probably not against the law, but it's just breaking the social contract that we should all be bound to. And I think that is one thing that I really liked about Japan when I was there is, if you go against those social norms and customs, you get ostracized. And that sort of scratches that itch in my brain. So, the gut intelligence. Your view of the world is what you think and what you feel. What you think about and what you feel is informed by your reacting self and your responding self. So, what you think and feel. When you think about unfairness in your reacting self, what you feel is anger. And when you think about fairness in your responding self, what you feel is peaceful. And then I'm somewhere in the middle, and that's sort of the devil and the angel on my shoulders there. Okay. Then there are what they call the 9 core potencies. Your core potency is the inner power in you, which is driven by your view of the world and explains why you do what you do. Each one has 3: gut, protecting, reconciling, connecting. Down here in thinking, you have observing, questioning, and stimulating. And down here in heart, differentiating, achieving, and helping. So I am one of these 3 potencies up at the top. And my core potency is reconciling. So, you have the yin and yang symbol there at the top. I see injustice in the world. I experience anger. And then I seek to create peace to overcome anger through a core potency of either correcting, reconciling, or protecting, and I am reconciling. The middle of the 3. So, overview. So, these are just sort of my, general personality traits. I'm good-natured. I'm calm and agreeable. I'm adaptable, receptive, supportive of others. I have a go-along and get-along attitude, and I am easily sidetracked from personal goals. And to be honest, I am 100% embodying all of those traits. It says that in my path I need to embrace discomfort and prioritize myself. No is okay, and my gift to the world is harmony. So, my aware self, my reacting self, when I've experienced anger, I have conflict avoidance. I'm indecisive and ambivalent. Conflict avoidance is a big one with me. Even if I disagree with somebody, often instead of pushing the issue, I'll be like, yeah, whatever you say, like, we'll just do it your way. And then if it goes wrong, I'll be like, well, I told you so, basically. Stubborn or passive aggressive, absolutely indecisive, absolutely I am. Lost in essentials and details, absolutely I do. Difficulty with personal boundaries, I don't really agree with that one. I'm pretty good with boundaries, although that might be a behavior I've learned from trial and error. And a shutdown mentality and emotionality, absolutely. When I get overwhelmed, when I get stressed out, I will completely just shut down. I'll lay in bed for like 4 hours and do nothing, and like, that's how I cope. Now my responding self when I feel peaceful instead of angry. Empathetic and caring. Unconditional support of others, absolutely. Like, someone needs money, someone needs this, that, the other, like, whatever, like, I'll help you out. Steadfast, understanding. Natural mediators, I absolutely think that I am a natural mediator. I've always been pretty good at diffusing situations, which is funny because I avoid conflict. But if I see 2 or more people in conflict in between themselves, I'm pretty good at getting them to calm down and come to a consensus. See all points of view. I'm very good at that. When I was doing debate in my poli-science, political science university courses, I would often argue against the points I would agree with, so I'm very good at finding, like, when I have my own opinions and feelings on things, I'll sit there and sort of attack them as harshly as I can from the other side. I'm very good at that. And unpretentious, I do like to think I'm quite unpretentious. I'm also known as the harmonizer, the mediator, the accommodator, the comfort seeker, the peacemaker. Honestly, I think this overview of me is probably why I am into ASMR in the way that I am, and that why I seek out these sort of peaceful, quiet, introspective forms of entertainment, right? So things that I value, these are things that I value. I find these to be, virtues. Understanding toward others, being accommodating and accepting, and peace and stability. That is spot on. One thing that always will frustrate me endlessly is when people seem to be unable to understand where other people might be coming from, whether I agree with those people or not. I feel like we owe it to each other to try to understand, well, why do you think the way you think? Why do you feel the way you feel? And it seems like there's so many people out there who are unable to look beyond their own nose, so to speak. And one thing that I see quite often, and I've mainly said this about political points or things like that, is, or, like earlier, my little comment about the car jumping to the front of the line, or, people cutting in line at the supermarket, or screwing somebody else over for their own personal gain, this, that, or the other. Just because I am the vehicle through which I experience the world does not lend me any special providence. Just because I am me doesn't mean I matter any more than anybody else. I have to live with the consequences of my own actions. But that doesn't, and I can benefit from any rewards, and I can suffer from any, drawbacks. But ultimately, that doesn't matter just because I'm the one that has to experience it. That there's no reason that alone should give me the arrogance to prioritize myself over somebody else just because I am me. If I am no longer, the world still is, everybody else still is, so really I don't matter. That's sort of the perspective I take on that. And I feel like a lot of people are unable to think that way, or unable to accommodate the idea that other people around them are thinking, feeling people with, so many people have main character syndrome, I feel. At my best, others experience me as being grounded and able to speak up for myself. And at my worst, others experience me as procrastinating, stubborn, and self-denying. To be honest with you, over the last little while, I feel like I've been at my worst a lot more than I've been at my best. I have not been in the best headspace mentally lately. But I'm trying to get more into this peaceful and at my best category here. So I'm not going to dive into all the diatribes here, but the reconciler, so me, I express these positive qualities: diplomacy, understated, patient, inclusive, non-judgmental. I do think that's something I succeed at, especially in a workplace, which is what this is sort of focused around. I'm very good at going into a conversation and debate, withholding my own point of view and trying to come to a consensus. Easygoing, I do consider myself quite easygoing, inclusive, and kind. I like to think when I'm at my best I am, and steadfast. These challenges, procrastination, absolutely, I'm a procrastinator. I will do things at the very last minute. I've been doing it since high school. Saying yes when you really mean no, that is something I have been working on for years at this point. I still struggle with it. It's something that when I was in therapy 4 years ago after my divorce, talking to a therapist, that was one of the main things she told me I struggled with. I still struggle with it today. Passive aggression. I can be an absolute see you next Tuesday to people if they get on my bad side. And initiation. Absolutely, I am not one to start something. You come to me, tell me you need me to do something. Absolutely, I'm happy to do it, but I'm not likely to be the one to get up out of my chair and volunteer myself to go do it. Not often. I try to be better about that at work, but I'm not a go-getter type person. But of course, we all have all these intelligences. Even though I am gut dominant, I still have head intelligence and heart intelligence. So, my gut action patterns, active and busy, sticking to routines to achieve tasks and fulfill my responsibilities, control your environment by not allowing others to control you, and you like feeling connected and close to people you love and care about. All that, I think, is very accurate. Now when we get to my thinking, the head intelligence with this archetype that I have, I like processes, clarity, predictability. You can easily redesign large volumes of information into efficient, coherent structures. Literally, like 2-3 weeks ago, I took an entire database of like 80,000 entries, cleaned it up, rearranged it to make more logical sense, make it less confusing. Processes, clarity, absolutely. If there are a firm set of instructions, we do it this way, and we do it this way every single time we do it, no problem. But when everyone has their own different methods, their own means, their own processes, I think that leads to chaos, especially in a workplace. You dislike people who are overly confrontational in their conversations. conversation style. Absolutely. If there's people who they immediately try to get into an argument, or they're immediately angry, loud, whatever, I do whatever I can to avoid those people. Especially when you just see like random dudes in public just being loud, boisterous, peacocking a bit. Like, that's somebody I want nothing to do with. You can feel dissatisfied with aspects of your life, however you really express your thoughts or concerns to others. Yeah, that's something that I struggle with all the time. I'll have something, I'm like, man, I wish this was better, I wish I was better at this, I wish this was different, you know. I'm dissatisfied with different aspects of my life all the time, but I mainly keep it to myself. And in my heart, even though you experience a range of deep feelings on the outside, you're even-tempered, serene, easygoing. Yeah, I do not like expressing my emotions. I think that expressing your emotions rocks the boat. Rocking the boat leads to instability. Instability leads to changes, and I do not like changes. My wife will often tell me, like, she'll say to me, your face does not change. You can be happy, you can be sad, you can be angry, whatever. And the expression on your face does not change, it does not reflect what you're feeling. Despite your inability to mediate conflict, you numb out in your own anger and discontent, so much so that you deny these feelings altogether. Absolutely spot on. I will push it down until I just explode. Quite sensitive to the feelings and emotions of the people around you and take them on yourself. Yeah. Like the other day, one of my coworkers, I knew something was bothering them. I could just notice, I'm like, oh, usually they're more talkative. Usually they're on their, phone texting somebody a little less. Like, it's just the very minute, small changes in their behavior, in their posture. I immediately, to me, it's like those differences are amplified up to 11, and I can't mistake them. And I immediately start questioning myself. Did I do something wrong? Did I cause that? Do I need to help them? I take all that on myself. There's some of these pages that aren't really important, but I thought this one was good. What blocks my development? Blind spots are things that you often miss in your behavior and that others observe in you. If you refuse to acknowledge them, they block your development and keep you in your reacting self, setting yourself up to be disregarded. Sometimes if you do not have an opinion, people will not remember you. There's the very obvious, famous quote, I can't remember who it's from, my apologies, that says, well-behaved women rarely make history. Obviously, I'm not a woman, but I think the quote applies to me all the same. If you do not rock the boat, nobody will know who you are, and that is something that I have had to work on. And, going in and asking for my raise when I did it a few months back was one of the hardest things in my life because of things like that. Limited influence. You need things to be fair and want to ensure that all opinions are heard and canvassed. You then present these multiple viewpoints in long and drawn-out ways, which may cause listeners to lose interest as pattern behavior undermines your credibility and ability to assertively influence others. Because genuinely, I am not concerned with influencing other people. Genuinely, I'm not. I'm concerned more with getting to an outcome. Even if it's not maybe the outcome I necessarily wanted, than I am with being bogged down in the process of coming to the outcome. Indirectness, you accommodate other people's needs, desires, and feelings at the expense of your own. This, coupled with your reticence to advocate for yourself, means that often neglect was important to you. You may think you're being clear and indirect. Be alert to the possibility you might not be. I've had that often in my personal life and professional life where I think that I have communicated something very clearly and very directly. I thought that I I got my point across. I thought that whatever it was, I thought I communicated it. Only down the line, whatever that is, for the other person to be like, I didn't get that at all from what you were saying. So that is something that I've had to work on, being more direct and less. I think I have a tendency to sort of, let's see, this is the topic right here. I have a tendency to sort of talk around it, when really I just need to talk right to it. And then passive aggression, of course, I've already talked about that. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I think this will be the last bit. My path of purpose. Living in the present moment helps you find meaning in your life in the form of purpose. When you live from your reacting self, you are only living part of who you were born to be. Your core potency is an expression of your view of the world and acts as an anchor point from which to explore your purpose. To understand more fully the idea of purpose, we use the metaphor of a path. Traveling this path helps you identify the potential you have to make a difference in the world. WID names this the path of purpose, potential that can be unlocked through the practice of the integration movement. This practice supports you to show up as the best version of yourself in the world and live the life you're born to live. My purpose is I allow myself to remember that discomfort and conflict can lead me to experience life more fully. And yeah, that is it, so that leads into part 2. But I'm not going to get into part 2 because part 2 not only has my personal information, but my coworkers as well, and sort of like how we can work better together, especially within my team at work. So I'm only going to share this one because it's personal to me, but this really, I'm not going to lie, of all the personality tests I've taken in my life, this one felt the most comprehensive. It felt the most honest. Like, there were points reading this that I almost got mad. And I was like, oh, F this, that's not how I am. But I realized, like, well, no, that is how I am. And there were points where I did actually get quite upset because I was like, this is accurate and these aren't, negative things or whatever about me. And it can be quite confronting to be told honest truths about yourself, because a majority of our life, if we're being honest with ourselves, a majority of our life we are lying to ourselves. Absolutely, we're lying to ourselves. We all lie to ourselves every day, constantly. And this sort of cutting through that and confronting you with the deficits of your character and your nature, and the positives as well, but what you can work on, what you can improve. You realize there is quite a lot to be done there. So I quite enjoyed this. At the price point, I can't recommend you going out and doing this, but just sort of maybe reflect and be honest with yourself on your own potencies. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And be honest. What are you not good at? What are the flaws in your character? We all have flaws. Flaws aren't a bad thing. That's what makes us human. But overcoming those flaws is what is what it's all about. So I hope you found this at the very least relaxing. The most, hope you found it interesting. Tomorrow we'll have the NFL reviews. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single week. Till next time, guys. Bye bye.